Hi, everybody. It's Susan, and this time I'm back with some of my astrologer friends, and we're having a look at the upcoming eclipse in Libra. And we're just going to have an overview, brief overview of what it all means to each of us, what we think is coming, and then we're going to share some personal anecdotes for those whose charts are being affected by this eclipse, and that might help you to learn a little bit more about how that might affect your chart as well. So we have Camille, we have Ronit, and we have Marcia. Camille is in Berlin, Ronit is in Israel, and Marcia is in Portugal, and I am in Spain. So we're coming at you from pretty much all over the place. Perhaps we can just start with the overall theme. Does anybody want to jump in and say what the big theme looks like for this upcoming eclipse? It's only a week away as we're recording this, less than a week away.
I have this vision. Sorry. Do you want to
go
go, Cam?
ahead, and then we'll come to Camille. Yeah.
So I had this vision a few days ago, and I just saw this seesaw, and the person is sitting on the one side, and the heavy weight is on the other side, and it's like, who is coming off first? Kind of vibration. Like, do I jump off and leave the other side hanging or falling down to the ground, or the other way around? And it is like a kind of a, because it's obviously in Libra, so it's relationships, and because Libra is the scale, I'm not seeing the justice or the harmony. I'm seeing a seesaw. I'm seeing it's time to act. Also because we have Aries on the other side, and it's act alone. It's, I have to take things to my own hands and maybe leave the other side hanging, or maybe it's going to be done to us. Someone is going to leave us hanging as a result. It's very sudden, and eclipses can last a year, and if we fall to the ground from that knock of that weight that jumped off, we could be out of breath for quite some time. So I think it's like a cosmic message to act, because sometimes we just hang on the fence, and we just want to keep the equilibrium, and we want to keep the peace. So we just keep on hanging, and we keep on swinging up and down. And, we can choose to find the swing for ourselves and just go to our own swing rather than spending time on the seesaw. And it's like, was a vision that came to me when thinking about it. Yeah, because Aries is very powerful. It's very action oriented, and it wants to take us forward, in motion. And the Librans, they're just happy to hang around. Difficult to make decisions. How am I going to hurt the person, or how am I going to leave the event before it ends? Who leaves first? And I think it's that kind of pressure that we're going to face. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, Camille, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, a lot of things come up. So I think, first of all, we've got the first Libra eclipse in this, South Node, Libra eclipse. So it's like this changing of the guards from Scorpio, Taurus. Now we're moving into our Aries, Libra axis. So that new beginning. What I think of that a lot is the two feminine principles. So a Venus ruled eclipse, after Venus just went through her journey underworld for the whole summer, being in Leo, and she's just about to go into Virgo. So that new beginning as well. And then the second eclipse will also be ruled by Venus this month, which is something, just this this idea of the feminine principle of harmony. But then we have Eris conjunct this North Node. So the other feminine principle of discord. So I think of the feminine energies, harmony versus discord, and then kind of squaring Pluto, the in Capricorn, the hierarchy, patriarchy, tying me into my like story and mythology. I think of the last year starting in 2020 when Eris and Pluto were squared 3 times, 2020, 2021, that kind of wrapping up. And now Eris this time, you know, is invited to the story. She's a main character in this story now. Mars is there, her brother, just going into Scorpio. So he's starting his new beginning in, you know, in an ingress during the, I mean, you know, I don't know how many days before the eclipse, but
the 12th, it's 2 days before.
Okay. So just, I feel, as I look at all the characters and see how's the story continuing. So we had the Pluto Aries for some years, and now we're moving into the axis of the Libra Aries action, taking action, but with Eris there for the people, by the people action. How am I trying to pull this in?
What I find interesting too about to touch on that feminine energy again and connecting with that discord is that we've got Lilith at the time of this Venus ruled eclipse at the exact degree point where Venus stationed retrograde in July. So I do think there's quite a lot of disgruntlement at the moment for months and months already. I think that Mars also on the point where we saw the eclipses of the 20th of April, 5th of May, and then again that Jupiter North Node conjunction is the opposition point there where Mars is. So that's where the South Node was at the time of that Jupiter North Node conjunction. It's calling in a lot of anger and a lot of frustration, it feels to me. And Saturn is still in an opposition to Venus. So there's something that we all feel is just enough is enough. It feels very, very tense that way.
And going back to the last video you made yesterday was the first time I'd heard this. For me, Venus was always harmony, beauty, love, feminine. And it was really nice to hear. I'm a student of astrology. I'm learning every day. And but it's interesting because with Saturn and Mars, I give a lot of balance. I see in my chart and charts that I work with a lot of the negative, positive, right? I definitely go with a balance between the duality of more of a negative and positive for both Saturn and Mars, but with Venus, I never did. So that was an interesting insight. And for me, I take with the transits, it's very personal to me because that's how I'm working with my astrology at this point in my life. And so I've been thinking a lot about, Venus, my Venus in my chart, the houses that are ruled by Venus, and really since yesterday when I heard that, really being able to see that in a new perspective of her role in war or her role in conflict.
Yeah, I think this, for me, on a principal point of view, like one of the, let's say, problems I'm trying to say this in a way that's not judging. It's difficult. One of the issues I have, same word probably, but one of the things that I find lacking, let's say that, in modern astrology is what is actually challenging, difficult, really dark, really in your face, nuts and bolts of life is missing, because there's this whole idea that the universe is loving and it's all going to be fine. And if you just think differently about things, it's all going to work out. And the evidence just isn't there. And so when we start to see that not only, and especially the nodes, but not only the nodes, but that when you look in traditional astrology, they were much more frank about the nature of humanity, much more open about the challenges that we face amongst ourselves and with rage and greed and, you know, overthrows of power and all these things. It's just the stuff of life. And the more that we can observe that and see, oh yeah, that's also true, the more we come out of that shadow. And I think this is actually where traditional astrology is very, very strong in understanding there's a good and a bad in every single aspect of the chart, and we can pull it out and try to use it in the best way according to what we need. But yeah, Venus is definitely a warrior energy. So once we see that as well, and especially for mundane astrology, we should really be taking Venus to that more gritty level. For mundane astrology, you always want to look at things from the slightly more challenging perspective rather than the slightly more favorable perspective, because there's so many moving parts. It's difficult to get things to really work out. Marcia, do you want to add something?
Yes, I do, Susan. Because I have the same feeling. I agree with, I loved Ronit's vision that she saw the seesaw, and I love what Camilla said. And I think I had something similar to add. That is, when I think about Venus, I always think about trying to accommodate everything, trying to, I don't know, make everything fine for everyone. But at the same time, when I think about Libra is looking for justice and equilibrium. So Venus might try to accommodate, but if it's not fair, I think, and now I can see this eclipse coming really strong on a personal level, also maybe in the mundane level as well, but in that way that it needs to be fair for everyone. So Venus is not accommodate everything is not the solution all the time. Maybe it's something, it needs to be a more drastic change so things can work out. That's what I think.
Another way we can look at that from the more traditional point of view, and this is especially true in Indian astrology, which I feel has a much better grasp of the nodes than the Western way of looking at them, is that the ruler of the nodes is always going to be both the solution but also the biggest problem. And so there's you know, South Node Ketu is really where we're going to find some loss, some deep lessons, some big challenges, and where Venus is part of the problem. It's not it's again both the solution and the problem, and it's usually, and now we've got Venus in the, if we looked at derived houses, for example, we've got Venus in the 12th from the South Node. So we're looking at a Venus that is doubly weakened, let's say. She's triply weakened, even. She's ruling the South Node. She's in the 12th from the South, and she's in a sign that she's not really comfortable in Virgo, in her detriment. So, or rather her fall. So, so I think we're not going to see great results from this particular eclipse. I think we might find better results coming around the next time, but we'll have a look at that when the time comes.
Do you mean the next at the end of the month when she's still ruling the?
No, so that's a little different again, but yeah, it's because that's going to then be the North Node that we're looking at.
Yes.
So it's slightly different energy. She's now moving expansively, and she's now, but from her detriment, she's still not going to bring the goods. Basically, she's still. If we just really briefly pull that chart out, we can see she's still not in a good place. She's not in her happy place, and in fact, she's really not in her happy place because she's with Lilith. So we're still not going to see, I think the spring eclipses are where we're going to start to see some better results for Venus, but these are not easy eclipses. There's no two ways about it. This eclipse cycle is not easy. And we're feeling that, I think. So let's come back here. And I would love to hear from you. Perhaps we start with you, Camille, where we can hear a little bit about what's going on with your chart and how this is affecting you. Can I pull up your chart?
Absolutely. So
hang on, I'll find you there. So let's go there. I'm going to put you in the middle, and we've got the eclipse on the outside now.
So since I've been so I have this very delicate point in my 12th house of this triple Mars, Saturn, Pluto, something I've been dealing with in my adult life, really trying to come to terms with, squaring my North Node and my moon. With all, like, a lot of inner work, this is the part of my chart, this is the part of me that has really needed the most work, and this is how it manifests in my life, is addiction. I can say that quite clearly, and it took years. Just recently, I've been able to, without shame, really admit this. So I will go back.
And can I just ask you if you're okay to speak about that? Is that something that runs in your family?
Yes. Yeah.
So
for me, it's alcoholism.
Okay.
It manifests in alcoholism. Okay. And if I go back.
So I just want to astrologically point out for the viewers, so that's that 12th house connection with ancestors, and then Saturn is ruling the 4th. And so it's also ruling your South Node. So that pulls in family influence, right? So just wanted to point that out.
And what
Camille,
is, and it's
Camille, can I just, sorry to interrupt, can I just ask you, do you find astrology help you understand addiction and helped you take yourself out of it?
It's helped me in understanding, in kind of bringing it out of a shame when I can see. And I mean, so much is hidden in shame, and with my family as well, very much not talked about. And how it has manifested in my life is that I've been able to go on for 25 years drinking, and no one knows there's a problem, because that's how my drinking is. You know, and this is very much tied in. So yes, astrology, because I can see, look at it, it's in the 12th house, squaring my moon in, you know, and then like my moon and North Node in the 9th house in Cancer, nutrients, is something that I've been dealing with, like just living with in my own, with my, I do admit to my higher power, God, source, spirit. I have a connection, and it's like, as long as I'm honest with spirit, I'm going to keep on going this route.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to talk about it, and it's going to be
that's a beautiful description of all this energy. That's the using that energy at its peak, you know, at its most enlightened, you know, same energy, and using that from a higher place is connecting you with God, North Node in the 9th house, and that Pluto in the 12th is like, okay, let's be honest, let's get real, right?
Yeah.
So that's,
and it started to get real. When with the Pluto square Pluto, it's been a process of coming out of understanding this is a situation that needs change. And it came then with the astrology, it came really, it was like, I'm ready to let this go. Wonderful. And it's been a little bit of an up and down the last couple of years. I stopped drinking, and then it came back in this summer, a little, you know, sneaking in. And then with let's see, the South Node conjunct Pluto, the end of August, was the same day, the same week that Venus squared Jupiter. So I was already knowing, okay, Venus squared Jupiter, you know, that tendency maybe to go out a little bit too much, or overdo pleasure, perhaps. Anyway, there was a situation, and the next morning I said, this isn't, this is it. I need something else. I need help. I need to say this out loud, because I was trying to quit alone without admitting it to anyone else. I can do this, you know. And I did for months and months. And no, it was like, no. And so anyway, I joined AA. I'm in recovery. And it was a wake up when South Node was on Pluto. And it wasn't like, oh, maybe, no, I needed something to come in. And then now, you know, you get used to saying this out loud, putting this out, and you know, shining a light on what is not seen and all that shame that, I mean, I've been dealing with this for years and years. I can go back to the last time the South Node was here, 2004, 2005. I was in my early 20s. And this is the first time that I knew there's a problem here. Mm-hmm. I knew it. I knew that my drinking was not like other friends in their 20s. No, I knew there was something deeper. And so it was the first time, about, when is it, 19 years ago, that the South Node would have passed my Pluto, Saturn, and Mars in the 12th house. But yeah, I was in my 20s. I was not looking for change in a major way. But it was more in my spirit and soul. I knew that this was something big.
Yeah. Wow. I'm super happy for you, Camille. That's just an amazing, you know, it's hard. I really want to acknowledge you for speaking about it. It's not easy to speak about these things, and it's very brave. And that is a literal description of Pluto, Saturn, Mars, when we're looking at that from the point of view of the intensity of willpower, you know, because again, all of those things that are really difficult also serve us. That's the intensity of the no. It's the no is there. It's really clear. And until that point, it's just pain. It's just lots and lots of pain.
And like you were even saying with this Western astrology, I'm from California, born and raised, and it's like, it's fine. It's going to be fine. I'm a Pisces sun, trying my moon, trying Jupiter. I'm going to be fine. It's beautiful things. And that square was always in the back of my mind. Like, there's something blocking. There's a major, yeah, but the South Node releasing really like this ready. And that's what I love about life and time and being human and doing the best we can, is when it's, you know, the time will come. I feel it's not pushing it, giving yourself a hard time. You've got to stop this. And then it's like, for me, it's just like consciously, okay, this is what's happening. This was okay. And then it's time. I knew I needed help. I knew I needed to say it out loud. And the shame slowly starts to peel away the more. And it was, I would say, years in process, but it's interesting because I have never really tracked the North or South Node over my natal planets. And so that came up recently, and I went back and I thought, oh, okay, here we go. This is coming up, and this eclipse will be then conjunct my Saturn. 21 degrees Libra, exactly square my North Node. So I've got my nodal, square my North Node. So it's like, whatever's coming, I'm ready for it, because I'm just taking care of myself. That's, for me, how I can get ready for it: sleeping, eating, being gentle on myself, not making big plans, going to meetings, for me, going to my yoga and gym classes, taking care of my body. A lot of this, and I don't, maybe, you know, then we've got the North Node in my 6th house. What a lot for me helps is coming back into my body. I see manifestations of pain in different parts of my body, and not always being in the mind, and really seeing how that's manifesting in the physical body. How do I feel? And like, even, you know, because then if you stop drinking, I start eating more sugar, and then I'm pivoting these addictions somewhere else. And you're thinking, how am I going to stop eating more sugar? You go into your body, you're full. You know, am I full? Is my stomach full? and really not this endless North Node, like bottomless pit of hunger, never being satisfied. So yeah, back to meditation, breathing. And for me, it was my medication, self medication is what they say. Having my water, just like relieving the stress.
Sure. Yeah.
So what do I have now? I can breathe, come back to my body. So that's what is getting me through the days.
Beautiful.
Knowing that this is a journey. I've got the South Node for another 18 months going through my 12th house, and I'm here for it.
Absolutely.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
It's gonna be, and it's exciting because I know this is the maturity. This is gonna take my life to the higher place that I deserve to be in, because it was a lot of shame, a lot of family shame that I kind of just was holding on to, not really knowing what to do with.
Yeah, then you become an agent of healing for your family and perhaps for other people, because that's something that's there for you, potentially that North Node 9th house, counseling, advising, teaching, leading people in a nurturing way. And Chiron on the descendant, Chiron in the 7th. I want to point out and give a huge shout out also to the last Pluto square to your Pluto as well, which I do think played a major role in that. The power.
This is when it started. And even though I kind of went back to it, this is when it started. This was the first awakening of you cannot move forward with what you want to do in life, or what I believe I'm here to do in life, with this chain around my neck, which was my addiction.
Right.
And it's interesting. I wouldn't have been able to talk about this like this a year ago. There was too much shame. And it's going, but that Pluto square Pluto absolutely is when this really was coming up.
That shedding of that's coming off the addiction. It's the relationship, that seesaw. You had a relationship with alcohol, and you have decided to separate yourself from this relationship. So this is quite evident in the South Node, letting go of something which is addiction. We have relationship with, you said, like food, alcohol, people. It's not this with ourselves, habits. And this is so evident here. It's beautiful.
12th house is the house of self-undoing, it's addictions, it's escapism. So it's exactly
escapism,
that. Yeah. Brilliant. Any other reflections on before we move away from Camille's chart? Oh, good. So, Ronit, can I pull up your chart and we'll go to you then? We'll then see how that's affecting you now. What are you feeling?
Well, the South Node is in my 12th house, and I'm housebound, literally, sitting in a war time. And it's very uncomfortable. I went out to get groceries, and it was shocking to see the streets were empty. The food shelves in the supermarkets were empty. It's really the unknown at the moment, and we are not even close to where the fighting is going on and where the people are stranded. But people are closed in little rooms, in safety rooms, and we have to do the same in the event we hear siren goes off. So it's
so very. When you speak about people's private homes that have these safety chambers built in.
Yes, right? We all have. You have to have a safe room,
right?
Steel windows and steel door,
right?
You can lock yourself up in,
right?
So, but luckily we're not so close to the south, and but we're still at home because we're glued to the television and we watching, and we want to be understanding, like we want to be connected somehow to the nation, to the people, to what's going on, and I have 6 family members who are fighting in the war now, and they're in the army. So, but it's very literal, being at home and having it in my 12th house and having it opposite my moon in the 6th house. So yeah, that's at the moment, that's what I'm going through.
Mm. And Pluto on Venus, squaring all of that.
Pluto on Venus. Pluto has been on my Venus for
forever.
Many years. And you know, when you were talking about Venus being a warrior, for me it was, I was trying to figure out, like, for the past 2 years about my Venus, what does she want to show up for in this Pluto power events. And Venus, maybe she was fighting to be heard because she's in the 3rd house, and maybe she was fighting to be part of a community or to be part of something in her life. And with Pluto, it's regaining the power to be heard, regaining the power of being feminine. In Capricorn, it's not very feminine. So she's fighting to be who she wants to be. And having the nodes squaring, I think it's propels to be proactive, to take things into action, in making life happen as a woman warrior, if we want to call it that way. So, and having it on squaring my moon as well, obviously, you know, I have moved, I've relocated a year ago, put roots back in my old home. So I think it ties in very well.
And also with what you're moving towards in terms of your profession, 3rd house is your commerce. It's Venus is always a commercial planet, and Venus in Capricorn is very savvy. Capricorn is traditionally considered a feminine sign. So I know what you mean about Venus not being very feminine, but the Capricorn energy is feminine. And so Venus is just a little bit what we used to call prudish in Capricorn. She's just minding, you know, she won't do anything untoward. She's very cautious about how she expresses her Venusian qualities. She doesn't want to offend. She's going to always be gracious because Saturn is there saying, are you behaving? Are you minding the social rules? And Pluto is there going, huh? What? Why? Maybe this is what's going to also, with Pluto on Venus, potentially really grow your finances, because that also, if we think of Venus being exalted in Pisces, where Saturn is currently, and coming up next year to your Saturn return, and that becomes then the entrepreneurial quality that Saturn is pulling in to the 3rd from the 5th. And that can make you very powerful, not only in communication, but in finances. So
because finances have been like fluctuating greatly, and
with Pluto, I would say so. But I think then what happens is you get a sense of courage. Pluto can really strip everything away until you think, oh, okay, it's okay, I get it now. And that's the paradox. It's like the point of the least resistance is when everything starts to manifest as, okay, we got this, we're going to be fine. So now you're going to have your very last exact conjunction by December. So you're really, this is the big lesson is now, and then you'll get a kind of a nudge in the end of 2024, but it won't be like this. So I think you will have understood so much better.
Yes, I think I'll grow wings by then. And
yes. Yeah, but you never know, because now with that North Node going through the 6th, your day-to-day life will change a lot, and potentially 12th house is also moving abroad again. You never know.
You never know.
Going back
I'm always ready.
Same for Camille, you never know. Excellent. Anything else?
I think
this one we missed maybe the Uranus Neptune. How are you experiencing that? Uranus opposing your Neptune this year. And trining Uranus.
Trining my own Uranus as well.
Yeah, just for fun.
Many sudden changes. A lot of alone time, strangely enough, like heavy flow of being alone to being with people. But it's almost like very abrupt. It's like alone time, and you think no communication from outside world, and then all of a sudden groups of people or people from friends that come together. It's very not like very unstable. Whether before, you have normal life where you meet friends and every week you have certain agendas or things happening. This has been very sporadic, kind of up and down of being with and alone. That's been quite strongly affecting me. And as well as, the Uranus with the Neptune, it's a lot of inner work to hope to come on the other side, to resurface in my relationships, and maybe I would think, how can I speak out in relationships? And not with the Neptune, like it's more within, and going into my subconscious and having things or thoughts of how I want things to be. And Uranus is like saying to me, okay, well, let's do it. Or you're not gonna do it. Just playing up. It's playing up quite significantly. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting in April because that's when Uranus meets up with Jupiter up in a 1 degree opposition to your Neptune. So we'll check in with you then.
Okay.
That will be very interesting because it's trining your natal Uranus as well, opposing your Neptune. I think also with Pluto on Venus, that can also be contributing to what you described about these relationships kind of being like all in or not at all. Kind of that third house is friends. It's like your coffee friends, your people that you see regularly. It's the acquaintances and your neighbors and your cousins and people you see kind of semi-regularly. So that can also be part of it. So you're really getting it from a number of different places.
I do. I do indeed. It's challenging at times.
Yeah. I think that's going to lift, and whatever's going on in April, we want to find out.
I'm so focused on astrology. I've gone all in. I've decided that I've been working on it since 2018.
Yeah.
Properly with the studying and learning continuously. And now I've decided I'm actually putting a marketing plan. I'm doing it properly. I'm moving forward. And I think also since the Scorpio solar eclipse, I feel a heavy weight being lifted.
Great.
So I think there's traction to move forward.
That could be your Jupiter conjunct Uranus then. That could be really like this huge jolt forward that pushes you into that whole new way of showing up, because that's a house of clients as well and all kinds of relationships. So very exciting.
Also hidden enemies, eh?
I don't see the seventh so much like that. I see the seventh, well, some people do. It depends on your way of looking at the chart. So I see the 12th is hidden enemies.
Okay.
Seventh is opponents or relationships, because it's almost the same thing. And the sixth house tends to be the house of enemies. I tend to subscribe to the Indian delineation of the houses because it's how I find it shows up when people are talking about issues, and that is what usually stands out. Sixth house is obstacles, it's challenge, it's sixth is the 12th house to the seventh, and seventh is our relationships. So sixth house is detracting from the seventh house, you see? And so in the same way, the 12th house is detracting from your first house. So it's like taking away what's good for you. It's like the things that you might be doing that you shouldn't be doing, the house of self-undoing or bad habits or hidden enemies.
Okay.
So you can test that for yourself. I always suggest people find these things out their own way, because just find a bunch of charts and see what's really active in people's lives and how it's manifesting. And then this has been my experience that this really does work very well. I do find the Indian delineations of the houses to be extremely logical and really clear.
So you say seventh house is partnerships.
It's partners. It's what you could call an opponent. When I'm talking to clients, I often say this is the person sitting across the table from you.
Right.
That could be your husband, it could be your lawyer, it could be your best friend. You know, it's who's there across the table from me. They're not me, but I have to be here with them, and they might be somewhat of an adversary. They might be somewhat of a beneficiary, or however you want to say that. But it is going to be in opposition to you either way, you see. So you can just experiment with the quality of the sign, with the planets in the house, with the planets that are transiting the house, with the dignity of the planets in the house, and so on. And that will tell you more about what is the feeling of that relationship as people are telling you what's going on. So you tune in again and let us know. We'll come back in a couple of months and check it out.
Because that's the first time you'll be getting the Saturn hitting your Saturn.
That'll be
the very first round, and then the Uranus going through will be the last hit of the opposition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Pluto will be done with Venus, so things will feel different.
Yeah. But I'm having my Saturn return, so
yeah. And Saturn will square your sun simply because you have it natally.
Yeah.
So it's going to feel like a big deal. All we know.
Hopefully a good big deal.
Yeah, but you're ready for it, aren't you? This is what you're looking for right now.
I am.
You're feeling that readiness to change. So go big or go home, as they say. Right?
That's how I live.
There you go. All right. Marcia, can I pull up your chart and we'll have a look?
Can I just say something to Ronit? I think when Saturn was entering my 5th house, it was when I started studying astrology. And I like to think about Saturn in your 5th house when you take responsibility or take something that you love more seriously. And you said that about astrology, so I think it makes a lot of sense that Saturn is getting to your 5th house, and you love astrology, something that it's like a passion, and you're trying to make it more professional and everything. So I think it might be a good timing, right?
For sure. And Jupiter is ruling it from the 8th, which is another astrological house, and the North Node is there too. So all good. And Jupiter is ruling your Mercury, ruling Jupiter, so in mutual receptions, all good. Carry on. Definitely keep it up. You're on the right track. We just don't know what's coming up. That's of course the trick, isn't it? To know how it will all look. We all want to know what it'll look like, but that's part of the cosmic joke. We never get to see how it's all going to look. Marcia, we've got your chart up here. I just want to hear what's going on with you.
Okay, so I'm having my node of return, and I think that's what making me reflect more about my life, about my moments, because when I think about my last node of return when I was 18 in 2004, 2005, it was a very interesting moment. When I finished school, I moved to Australia. I lived there for 6 months, and it was so interesting because I used to live with my parents. I was 18 and everything. So I went to the other side of the world. I'm from Brazil. And yeah, to learn something new. And it was an amazing experience. And now, and then I came back to my country, and then I started university. I studied psychology, and now I'm back to school. I'm doing a master's in clinical psychology. And I think it's obviously, I think during these 18 years, I think it's so important in your life when you become much more mature. It's a very critical time in your life. And but I can resonate, I believe, that let me think here. To be more independent, more mature, and to look to find my real identity, and separate from the Marcia that I've been in the last 18 years, maybe, especially the last 9 years, where I've been mainly a mom and a wife, which I love to be. I have my son in my fifth, and I love my kids very, very much. I think I couldn't go through this life without having my kids, but I think at the same time, I have my MC and my chart ruler Mercury in Capricorn. So, and I have this, I have my South Node in Aries.
Mars,
so I need
just
my identity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mars. Yeah.
Yes, my Mars conjunct my MC, and I have my ascendant in Aries. So I really need my own identity, and that's what I think I'm in this moment right now, especially in my node of return. So yeah, that's the
and that's for sure also what your sun is asking for, isn't it? It's the sun in Leo. It's all about being identifying yourself, expressing yourself.
Sure.
So yeah, it's and you know, and it also represents children for sure. Mercury in the fifth, Sun in the fifth is a person, especially Leo. It's a person who's definitely more susceptible to having children and finding great joy in it, but it won't be enough. It won't be enough.
It's not
Mars
enough.
is like, no, we got to do more.
And it's so interesting because both my kids, they have Mercury as their chart ruler. One is Gemini rising and the other one is Virgo rising, and I have it in my fifth. So it's just a curiosity here, but yeah. So I'm in this moment right now, and I think this Aries for me, my ascendant. I had some issues with Aries. I know the good side of Aries, which has lots of energy, courage, and everything, but at the same time, I think it can be so direct and maybe some rude at times and burn bridges. So I'm dealing with my Aries much better now than I dealt in when I was 18-year-old, when my teenage years and my young adult years. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm enjoying very much getting older each year that passes. I don't mind my gray hair that is coming a little bit here now, but yeah.
I like to call them wisdom highlights.
Yeah, it's wisdom highlights, Susan. I agree. I own them.
So you've got the North Node in Aries, so it's not just your ascendant, but that's part of your life quest, is to learn how to mature that Aries. And you're in your Saturn maturation phase, because you have there's two things with Saturn. You have the Saturn return, and then around the age of about 36 is the Saturn maturation. That's supposed to be the age of maturity for Saturn. And that's, you'll notice that's the first quarter. You know, if we look at the phases of the relationships between the planets, that's the first quarter square with Saturn after the Saturn return. And then it's like, bing, something clicks. It's also approaching the maturation phase of the North Node of Rahu. So this is pulling in this age exactly that wisdom and the maturity that you're talking about looking for. So it's all bang on time. So this is an interesting time for you. And then Mars going through the 8th, that's also, again, we can look at that as a house of astrology. Mars on Pluto is real courage, real determination, drive to understand, drive for the truth, drive to overcome fear, drive to overcome anything that might be unconscious block to your progress. So Mars, of course, being your chart ruler. So
Sure.
yeah, it's going to be quite a time, huh?
Yes, it is. And it's this strong Mars that I have. I really feel that it supports me, that it really gives me that drive that, okay, let's gonna do it. And so now I go to Lisbon. I don't live in Lisbon. I live in Sintra. So it's 1.5 hours maybe. So I go every day to my master's, and I have the kids right now. But I'm happy because I know that I have a goal and I have to reach it. And that's what I have to do it. So I have this really strong in me right now. And I feel much more comfortable in this busy life because I'm doing what I want to do than when I was before, when I was with more time in my hands and more, maybe more comfortable in my day-to-day. But I'm loving this challenge and I need it.
Fantastic. Well, yes, you do, because you have Aries rising, and that is the remedy for the restlessness and impulsiveness of Aries, is to have goals. So you need to have these goals, and the goals for you are quite serious, ambitious, connected to what it is that you want to do in the world. So that is the therapy. So it's a good, whenever you feel a sense of agitation, you think, well, I'll just write the list, make the goals, and then cross the things off, because that really is the thing that makes it, actually brings you joy. It makes you come alive, and that's going to respond both to the ascendant in Aries as well as the North Node in Aries. They're personal goals. They're your goals. Excellent.
Thank you, Susan.
Anything else? Anybody have a comment about the chart?
I was just looking at a lot of this, the 21, 22 degrees, so that right now at the eclipse, she has the sun sextiling the eclipse, and then Uranus squaring her sun. And then in April, when Jupiter comes up to Uranus, it will be still squaring the sun and also sextiling her Jupiter in the 12th house. So yeah, we'll see what the Uranus will bring.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to come back together and do a recap, a recap of April. After April, we'll see if we all survive April. We'll see what happened. Yeah, we'll do it before and then after. See what happens. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your lives with us here. It's vulnerable. It's not always easy to share private things, and I'm really, really happy that you feel confident doing that. So we'll come back together again and talk about the next eclipse when we find some time in the next maybe week or 10 days. We'll come back together and see what's happening at the end of October. And in the meantime, everybody stay well, stay safe. I want to offer the merits of our work here together to the happiness and safety of all sentient beings throughout the world. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings in all realms find happiness. And I wish you all, especially you, Ronit, some peace and a feeling of safety.
Thank you. And Camille, good luck and well done.
Much, Susan. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Bye. Bye, everybody. See you next time. Bye.